Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're embarking on a really fascinating exploration into an old materia medica. Specifically, we're going to try and uncover some surprising, uh, really detailed medicinal uses for various citrus fruits. Oranges, lemons, the things we see every day.
Right.
Our mission is basically to pull out some unexpected insights, see how these common fruits were understood, how they were used for health way back when, give you a fresh look at some maybe forgotten wisdom. Okay, let's unpack this.
It really is remarkable, isn't it, how these historical texts give us such a precise window into how people thought about medicine back then.
Yeah.
And what stands out to me isn't just, the amount of information, but the sheer depth of observation. I mean, for things like oranges and lemons, everyday items.
Exactly.
They weren't just making vague claims. It feels like there was this really meticulous, almost, you could say, scientific approach, cataloging properties, specific effects.
Meticulous is definitely the word. Let's jump right in with a great example. Citrus vulgaris, that's the bitter orange.
Yeah.
The source gets into symptoms with, honestly, incredible specificity. Think about a patient coming in with a headache, right? But not just any headache, one with nausea, vomiting, and vertigo. And here's where it gets really interesting. The text specifies facial neuralgias, mostly right-sided.
Wow, right side.
Not just facial pain, but right-sided. I mean, what does that level of precision suggest to you about how they were thinking diagnostically?
That precision is, well, it's truly something. It suggests they weren't just aiming for general relief, they were looking for these incredibly specific symptom pictures, almost like creating a detailed fingerprint for each remedy.
A fingerprint, yeah, I like
It really speaks to a long history of careful, empirical observation.
Yeah.
Noting down even subtle complaints from patients and then trying to correlate them with specific plants.
And it goes beyond just the head stuff. For bitter orange, it also lists thoracic oppression. Sounds pretty serious. But the bit I found, well, just intriguing, was frequent and irresistible yawning.
Yawning.
Yeah. And disturbed sleep.
Yawning, listed as a key symptom. You just don't expect that in an old medical text, do you? It makes you wonder what they actually saw to link yawning specifically to bitter orange.
That's a fantastic point. That detail, it's not just odd, it highlights how closely these practitioners observed even like subtle physiological changes.
Right.
It points to a really holistic view, looking beyond just the obvious problem. And this careful observation, it extends beyond single symptoms. The text then goes into a relationship section.
Okay, what's that about?
What's fascinating here is it shows how they compared different citrus types, how closely related plants were studied for their distinct actions, even if they shared some, family traits. It's almost like an early version of comparative pharmacology.
Okay, so comparing within the family, that brings us to Citrus decumana, grapefruit, right?
That's the one.
And our source connects it to some very specific things. Tinnitus described as head noises and ringing in ears.
And also a feeling of pressure in the temporal region, like right here on the sides of the head. It's interesting how grapefruit, which tastes so different, also seemed to have this really distinct medicinal profile. Do you think they understood something about like the chemistry, or was it just observation?
It was almost certainly empirical observation. I mean, they didn't have the tools for chemical analysis back then.
Right.
So they had to rely on painstaking trial and error, noticing tiny differences in effects. It suggests this subtle, maybe almost intuitive grasp that even within the same plant family, individuals could have unique therapeutic uses.
So from grapefruit, let's pivot to maybe the most common one for us today, the orange, Aurantium.
Sweet orange.
Yep. The text mentions its use for neuralgic and skin symptoms, specifically calls out itching, redness, and swelling of hands,
Interesting.
and also for diseases of the aged with coldness and chilliness. So way more than just vitamin C. It was seen as a remedy for skin issues or maybe something to warm older people up.
And what's really insightful is when the text gets into specific preparations.
Ah,
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it shows they were thinking beyond just eating the fruit whole.
right.
Take boiled dried orange peel.
The peel.
The source explained it has this dual action. First, it excites the intestine, kind of like cellulose or agar, basically providing a mechanical stimulus to peristalsis. Helps get things moving,
Okay, like fiber.
Sorta, yeah. But second, it also leads to an increased flow of bile, which continues for hours. That's a cholagogue action stimulating bile flow.
Wow.
Because this isn't just orange is good for you. It's about specific parts, prepared in specific ways, having distinct effects on the body's mechanics. They were really observing internal processes.
That's incredibly detailed. Okay, so from the orange peel, let's shift again.
Huh?
Citrus limonum, the lemon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one might ring a bell for some listeners. The text notes its use for scorbutus scurvy.
Right, the classic use.
Makes total sense, vitamin C and all that. But it also lists uses for sore throat and get this, cancer pains, and even its ability to check excessive menstruation. That's quite a broad range for just one fruit, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And expanding on that, the text actually has a pretty significant section just on citric acid.
Ah, the acid itself.
Yeah, it notes it's useful in scurvy and chronic rheumatism and oranges.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really emphasized is its benefit for all forms of dropsy, that's edema, or swelling.
Okay.
The text suggests it's benefited with citric acid and lemon juice, tablespoonful every 3-4 hours.
A specific dose.
Exactly. Which, well, this raises an important question. How on earth did they figure out such precise dosing for something they couldn't even isolate like we do today?
Yeah.
It just speaks volumes about their systematic approach to observation. Trial and error, careful notes.
It really does. And
Yeah.
for the lemon, it also lists that very specific thing. Pain from cancer of tongue,
Yes, and it wasn't just for internal use. It details local applications too.
like a mouthwash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Used as a local application in mouthwash, 1 gram to 8 ounces of water. And then it concludes pretty broadly that it's effective for cancer pains generally, often effective.
Wow.
The sheer range they saw for
Yeah.
one compound, from systemic things like dropsy to really specific localized pain. It's remarkable. Shows a very comprehensive way of looking at remedies.
So, thinking about all this, what does it all mean for you listening right now? This deep dive, it's not just like a list of quirky old cures.
No, not at all.
It's a powerful reminder, I think, of the depth and the sheer specificity of these historical observations. It really brings home how much wisdom might be tucked away in unexpected places, and how our ancestors were out there meticulously looking for solutions in nature, documenting them with this observational rigor that honestly it surprises us today.
Indeed. That granular detail, the way it differentiates not just between orange and lemon, but between the peel and the juice, and the specific conditions they link them to, it all points to this incredibly precise empirical approach to botanical medicine. It really deserves our admiration and understanding. It's a testament to early science, even without our modern labs being deeply committed to observation, to classification.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the unexpected versatility, the detailed uses of citrus fruits. It's amazing, isn't it? How much specific, really nuanced knowledge they compiled about these things we just have sitting in our fruit bowls.
Yeah.
They weren't just food back then. They were like a whole pharmacy, studied so carefully, applied so specifically.
It really makes you consider how much detailed observation, painstaking trial and error, practical experimentation, how much must have gone into putting together these materia medica.
Decades, centuries, probably.
Absolutely. They were transforming common fruits into specific medicinal tools through this almost, you could call it a proto-scientific method.
Yeah.
It really makes you ponder the bigger picture, how historical knowledge often holds these surprisingly practical insights into nature's properties. Insights maybe we've forgotten or just overlooked.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with a thought, maybe a provocative one for you to mull over. What other everyday items, things we barely notice, might hold centuries of forgotten wisdom within their simple forms, just waiting for us to uncover in another deep dive?